Yo, welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is your boy TB as always, and I hope all of you are doing well, living well, and feeling well. Now, so far we know I have been going through the top 10 players at each position, and honestly this series should have been done, but thanks to a hurricane in Florida and not having internet for about 2 weeks, we're playing catch up, so we might have some double uploads in the next couple of days so we can get back on track. Before we get started, I just wanted to say, if you are new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a like for me, comment who your top 10 power forwards are. If you're not new, what's good with you, gang? How you doing? Now, I have a few honorable mentions which all deserve consideration for this top 10, but I think we'll be sure to either make the list by the end of the year or at least have an argument to be placed somewhere on this list. Now, the honorable mentions I have are Kyle Kuzma, John Collins, and Julius Randle. All three are deserving for consideration for this top 10, but I think they'll be sure to either make the list by the end of the year or at least have an argument, like I said before. Now, with regards to Kuz, he's evolved into a jack of all trades type of player, and I think that his ever-changing role in LA helped him develop all of these talents, and you're seeing it start to, form in Washington. He recorded his first triple-double last year. He also had a 27-point and 22-rebound game. And then John Collins, he wasn't himself this last postseason, and that was obvious. He was plagued by injury all season and seemed to have come back a bit too early, in my opinion. Look to him for him to be more like himself this coming season as he comes back healthy. Now, having two guards like Trey and DeJounte to run the pick and roll with should make it easier for him to get better looks. And lastly, Julius Randle, he didn't make the top 10 simply because I never have any idea which Randle I'm gonna get on any given night. Knicks fans don't know if they're getting the all-star that won most improved, or they're getting that very inefficient guy that scores 20 points 13 fewer times than the previous year. With those guys rounding off the honorable mention, we're gonna hop into the number 10 spot, and that is Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J is one of those best defensive players in the league. He had foot surgery over the summer, and that makes it to where we don't know when he's gonna be back for the Grizzlies this year, but he is definitely missed as we see it in their defensive talents, abilities, whatever you want to call it. The Grizzlies on defense are clearly better with him on the floor, allowing just 4.1 points per 100 possessions, and the team's net rating rises, and it shows with his league-leading 2.3 blocks per game. Filling the all-important modern archetype of a rim-protecting floor spacer, Jaren Jackson has bloomed into one of the league's truly unique big men. His rebounding remains something to be desired, but hopefully he gets better at that. Personally, I think rebounding is more of a want-to kind of thing, especially when you're 7 foot. But even so, Triple J can score in the post, face up in isolation, and as a spot-up shooter while sending shots to the front row. If it weren't for their uncertainty or surrounding his foot, which will keep him out for the start of this year at least, he might just be higher, but of course, this is a list going into the season. At the 9th spot, I have Sabonis. The Kings met headlines last year at the trade deadline when they acquired Sabonis as part of a deal to send Tyrese Haliburton to Indiana. Sabonis averaged the same exact number of points in 47 games with Indiana and the same 15 games that he played with the Kings last year, which was 19 points per game. The only thing that didn't translate directly was his perimeter shooting, as he knocked down just 4 of his 17 shots. The biggest thing for him is not being too much of a defensive liability above all else. Now, Mike Brown, which is the Kings coach who was hired last spring, he's known for his defensive tactics, which should help Sacramento make at least some progress at the end of the floor. But regardless, Sabonis has earned his spot on the list, and to me, if you think otherwise, you're a casual. Go watch some Kings games. At the 8th spot, I have Draymond Green. The amount of times I've wondered where Draymond would be on any power forward list, period, if he didn't have Steph, Clay, and a coach like Steve Kerr is astronomical. Draymond is a scarce type of player in this league whose impact will literally never show on the stat sheet. Draymond is that guy that you absolutely hate him when he's on the other team, but you love him when he's on your team. Others in the league who had this kind of status were guys like Dennis Rodman or Ben Wallace. The bottom line for me is that the Warriors have been one of the best defensive teams since their dynasty began a few years back, and Draymond has undoubtedly been the heart and soul of that. Dre is due for a contract extension this year, but after knocking Jordan Poole out in practice, I would be surprised if the Warriors keep him or extend him, honestly, especially after extending Jordan Poole first out of the trio of players and then Wiggins after. So now Dre, he's the only one that stands to be paid, and he does have a player option after this year, but after that, I'm not sure what the Warriors want to go and do with him. He would be a fool not to pick up that option if the Warriors are unable to trade him. But at the end of the day, Draymond has proved his worth to this Warriors team, and as long as he's on it, they're gonna succeed at least defensively. Coming in at number 7, I have Evan Mobley. Now, y'all can kill me for this one if y'all want, and I'm fine with that, but I think the 7 through 5 spots can pretty much all be interchangeable and will fluctuate depending on how the season goes. Again, this is going into the season, and honestly, some people could drop and fall as the season goes. If Scottie Barnes didn't win Rookie of the Year, the award goes to Mobley, and it wouldn't have been close. After posting an equally impressive stat line to his counterpart in Toronto, Evan Mobley enters this year with the top 3 backcourt and teammates that space the floor, which allow him to work in the post when he decides to do so. Mobley very well might have a higher ceiling than Scottie Barnes does, and the skilled big man has game-changing potential and his traits on the offensive end that we don't usually see in the 7-footer. As a rookie, Evan put up 15 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.7 blocks while shooting 50% from the floor. His shooting outside could use some help as he only shot 25% from deep, but regardless, his jumper in the mid-range is beautifully smooth and one with experience and work. He can become a reliable shooter behind the arc because he already has the foundation. He's going to be one of the more exciting players to watch blossom over the coming years of his career, and this year will be no different. Thus far, we've already seen a couple of hook shots out of him that made me excited when I watched him. So I'm gonna just keep my eyes on the Cavs because Evan Mobley is that dude. At number 6, I have Tobias Harris, a player that slides between both small forward and power forward, but a guy I like at the power forward more because he's an excellent fit in the front court with Joel Embiid, who likes to post up and attack with basket face-up drives to the rim. Last year, Tobias was his usual reliable self for the 76ers. He was good for 17 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, and 3.5 assists nightly while shooting 36.7 from 3. He was also formidable defensively, where his quick feet and plus size allows him to defend swingmen, power forwards, and some guards when called upon to do so. Harris may never be an all-star, but in his role, you'd have difficulty finding someone more trustworthy of both his position and role to the 76ers when you're asking him to score in isolation, shoot off the dribble, space the floor, and defend multiple positions. So Tobias Harris, he's a lock for number 6 in the top 10 power forwards list. At the number 5 spot, I have to go with Pascal Siakam. Now, being that the season has started, hindsight is technically 2020, but I didn't want to change my list because I've already written these scripts, just didn't have the time to record and upload them. But seeing thus far into the season, he would probably be a bit higher. But again, I made this prior to the season started, so keep that in mind. After a down year in 2021, Siakam bounced back in a huge way last year, earning 3rd-team All-NBA honors after averaging 22.8 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 5.3 assists per game, and 1.3 steals on 49, 34, and 74 shooting splits. Siakam is a spark plug on both ends of the floor from the moment the ball gets tipped. He has grown to channel his energy in an efficient manner, and in transition, he's almost impossible to guard. One thing I love about Pascal's game that goes under the radar is his ability to rebound on the defensive end and take it coast to coast to the basket. Siakam has a respectable jumper that makes it difficult to guard the drive against him, and his height and length, matched with his raw talent and ability, presents a matchup nightmare for most and makes him one of those guys that's perfect anywhere on your squad. Already a proven piece after Toronto's championship run in 2018, I still think Siakam remains one of the more underrated players in this league, and that could be because he's in Toronto, so we don't see him as much. Coming into the top 4, at number 4, and this one might be a little bit controversial because he's only played 81 games in the 4 years of his career, but his potential and career inception sold me enough to have Zion at number 4. For Zion, I think I would have him higher had he not shed a lot of his weight during this offseason, but being that he did shed a lot of the weight, we already know what the potential is. So now that he's dropped some of the weight, he can just explode. His potential is unquestionable, and we saw just a glimpse of what he could do in just a handful of games. The season-long layover may have caused people to forget what kind of talent the Pelicans have in Zion, who looked like a generational talent the last time he was on the floor. In 2020, he averaged 27 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists on 61.1 shooting from the floor. Zion is the first ever player to average at least 25 points before ever turning 21. And to do that with the level of efficiency he has, it's astonishing. There's no other way to put it. His main concern has always been his health with his athleticism and explosiveness. His size was a major issue, but now that he looks to have dropped weight and has great muscle weight on him, I am high on Zion, period. That's all I gotta say. I've been sold on his potential enough to have him at number 4. Coming at the 3 spot, I have Anthony Davis. This ranking is probably more based on reputation and me knowing what he could do when healthy, and AD has admittedly been street clothes AD since our bubble title, but prior to that, Anthony Davis was in a league of his own. Now, if I was able to put Kawhi in the top 5, I believe I put him in the top 5 small forwards. AD can do the same. And the reason I say that is because since they both got to LA, AD has played more games than Kawhi, period. So to give him that street clothes moniker, it's kind of overinflated because Kawhi has played less games than him. I'm not sure if PG has still played less games than him, but I know at one point AD played more games than both Kawhi and Paul George at one point. But now I know for a fact he has played more games than Kawhi since they both got to LA. Despite an injury-plagued year last year, he averaged pretty impressive numbers, scoring 23 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks while shooting 53% from the floor. The main question is still, AD, will you remain healthy enough to give the Lakers a reliable sidekick to LeBron? Again, when AD isn't hurt, he's arguably a top 3 big in the game and remains a two-way force, blocking, scoring, and attacking the glass at an elite level. So I put him at number 3. Arguably, he could be at like 6, and he probably should be, but again, made this before the year started. At number 2, I have KarlAnthony Towns, a player that would have been 3rd in my center rankings had the Timberwolves not picked up Gobert. He shifts up a spot due to AD's lack of availability, but he'll more than likely remain in the top 3 regardless. I expect him to transition to full-time power forward for the T-Wolves this year, seeing as they've got Rudy Gobert, and it looks like this will be the perfect fit for him considering it's a rather seamless transition for this highly skilled big man. He can shoot at an elite level, handle the ball, pass, and face up from the perimeter to get his squad a bucket. Last year, Cat had a marvelous year, averaging 25 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, while leading the Timberwolves to the playoffs. He ranked 5th in win shares, 11th in value over replacement player, and is the main scorer on a front court that may be the toughest in the league on both ends of the floor. Look to Cat and the T-Wolves to have a great year and come in strong. At number 1, at this point, I think it's obvious. I don't really have to say much. We already know it's Giannis. You could probably just look at the title of this video and know exactly who's gonna be number 1. But if you didn't think that, didn't know that, you have somebody else higher, here's why Giannis is number 1. Now let's be real. If I did a top 10 players in the league overall, which I'm probably gonna do, I probably should have already wrote the script for it, but I'm probably gonna do it. Giannis is gonna be at number 1 this year. Despite not winning MVP in either of the last 2 seasons, Giannis remains the most impactful player in the league on both sides of the floor. What makes him so great is that not only does the eye test look like this, but the advanced analytics support this claim. Giannis is 2nd in BORP, BPM, and in win shares. I don't really need advanced stats to really tell us how good he is, but it's just cool to see both worlds collide and it solidifies a player at a spot. His raw averages were 30 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and 55% on shooting. An absolute force whether he catches the ball on the perimeter or the post. Giannis can rebound and outsprint everyone to either throw down a monster dunk or display his elite playmaking ability at 7 foot. He's getting more comfortable shooting the ball year in and year out, and this year if he can make that jumper more respectable, the league has already been in trouble and in hell defending him, and though it'd be even deeper in hell if he could figure out that jumper. That's all I got for you guys in this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know who you think is the top 10 power forwards in the league. If you are new, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, it's your boy TB with the greatest hoop stories, debates on the tube, and I'm out. Peace.